this lesson is about how to run the job once you've chosen all your things. And there's a lot of, or the lovely bit, which is choosing your fabrics and putting things together and finding the bits of furniture and all of that fun bit. But it's also quite a lot to keep track of all of that, especially in a big house, you know, and even across 6 rooms. So we used to do boards for people and we'd stick on all the bits of fabric, and they would fall apart quite quickly after the presentation because they were so sort of live, really. And now we do them on PowerPoint. You can also do them in InDesign, but we use PowerPoint and they're on our iPads. So this page is the kitchen dining room, and I can flick through all of these pages, but you'll see this is quite early on in the project. So we've got our fabrics, this countertop marble has actually changed already, and the wallpaper you've seen in my sort of going through the plans, that there are quite a few wallpapers that we're still thinking about. I actually think we're going to come back to that one, but there's still room for change here. And as we go through the project, the real confirmed choices come in, and then as we add things like lamps, furniture, and all of that, it all gets added. So here, these chairs I bought actually about a year ago, so we already have those. This is a lamp I know I want to use. These are the wall lights we'll put over the kitchen counter. This rather messy picture of a sofa of mine is going to go in the window. So we're beginning to build a picture. Here are the fabrics in the drawing room. It's also really good. You see, we've got down furniture that's coming. So this is all existing furniture that I want to put in the drawing room or is sort of up for grabs. So you get the picture. We do these for clients, so they're branded with our things on. And I do think that even if either this is a great thing to do if you're starting out in a business of your own, but if you're doing it for yourself, I also think it's a really useful thing to do, because it's so easy to lose track of where you've got in a room and what's going to go in there. The other thing that putting all these pictures together does is that as you as you scroll through, you get a sense of how all the fabrics in the different rooms go together, and you do want them to feel harmonious together. So this is a more finished document that we've printed, and this started off as our mood board for the client, then with just the fabrics, and then as we've gone through buying furniture, we've added all the furniture that's in the rooms to this document. So now it's printed and going to be really useful for us at the point of installation. And they are so useful, I mean, and very satisfying, really. And it's really helpful to be able to see all the items together. This is the countertop in the mudroom with the walls and the lights going over the basin. This is the TV room with our blind fabric. This is the sofa. That's the wall covering, our big ottoman. And it helps in presenting to a client because they can see everything. You can see everything together. We're able to send it to them, so we can update it and send it electronically rather than all of our packets of fabrics. And there are some clients who want the packet of fabrics, which means those all have to be, we have to get double samples and send them. And of course, things change, and we can control much more how the packet changes. On here, we know this is correct, whereas we don't know what's in a client's envelope if they've got an envelope of fabrics. So this shows everything, and of course it's a really helpful working document. It is worth remembering that when you think of a page in a magazine, those great pages when there are all the things that you want in your summer beach bag, it's very enticing, and I think you want your boards to be enticing. So sometimes they look a mess. If there's too much stuff on the page, it looks a mess. If the photo quality is bad, it looks a mess. You want this to be crisp and lovely, and you're selling something. You're selling these pieces of furniture, and you're selling the idea of the whole room. So when the layout's good, and it's something that obviously comes with practice, it makes a big difference. So that's the visual magazine part of the workings of the project. And then you have the actual process and the way to make everything arrive on time, on budget, and in the right colour, which is incredibly important. So you want all these schedules, and your project manager will be asking for a hard finishes schedule, a soft finishes schedule, a lighting schedule, a paint schedule, and these endless schedules. So they look like this. We'll put a template of this up in the notes so that you can download it and use it yourself. So this is a finishes schedule. You have in this column all of the surfaces, and it's worth looking at your elevation to really make sure that you've got every surface, because it isn't always just walls, floors and ceiling. There might be a soffit, and we like to wallpaper our soffits, and a wallpaper hanger naturally will leave those in with the ceiling, and you can get these enormous, great sort of white bits suddenly showing, which should have had wallpaper on them. There are also rooms with eaves and a lot of sloping wall, which a wallpaper hanger might easily consider ceiling and not wall, so all your wall ends here. And we like to do everything that isn't completely flat. We treat that as wall. And if there's a room in an attic where everything is sloping and there's a really tiny bit of ceiling, we will also wallpaper the ceiling. This is the schedule for the finishes, and also we put an image in the side. It's a good idea not to issue your paint schedule until you know it's correct, because what you don't want is a whole load of incorrect paint schedules floating around the site, because inevitably they won't all be given an updated one. And it is worth checking when you go on site and they're building that they do have the correct updated paint schedule. So do number them. Every time it changes, you want to number it, because it gets incredibly confusing otherwise. This project is shipping to America, so that this has a shipping list, and that has the cost, the description, the date of it, because of course if it's going abroad, there may be different tax brackets for antiques and new things. Some things might be personal items which aren't taxed at all. So you want to put in as much information, and of course where it's ending up, the dimensions, where it came from, and we've got photographs in here. So this is also extremely useful when we came to do lampshades, because we were able to go to the lighting list and see, these are all wall lights, see the lamps which told us which rooms they were all going into. So it's just continually useful. And the other thing is you can easily forget where you've bought things for. And I mean, it's so easy. You've bought tons of lights, you bought tons of wall lights, and it's so easy to forget where things are going. So this is really useful to have, as is the furniture one. And we also have these, I mean, these act as an inventory, and they're also jolly useful when you have clients' own furniture. So sometimes we're working on a project where the client will have lots of their own furniture, or there'll be, you know, parents have warehouses with a bunch of stuff that they're offering our clients to use. So we will go through that, and that will line up. We take a code. So each piece of furniture will be given a code, it has an item number down here, and that will correspond with the furniture plan. And this table here is T1. So that is a dining table which is going into the great room. So when you go to the plan of the great room, we will see a table and it will have T1 written in the middle of it. That also helps when you want to go furniture shopping and your plan shows you the pieces of furniture that exist and the pieces of furniture that you still need to buy. So everything feeds into each other. And here it is, all this furniture, and it is quite amazing how much furniture a house takes. Here are all the chairs. Now, everybody does this a bit differently. And I think, it's worth finding the way that works for you the best. But this is a way, and it's probably quite a good jumping off point. So Estimac has been a really valuable tool for us because before we started using Estimac, we did all of our estimates and invoicing on Excel. And there's a lot of room for error. It's very easy to put things in twice. It was very easy to delete things by accident. And it was also very easy to send clients estimates with columns showing that we didn't want to show. We don't like showing the margin, even though our clients know what the margin is. I always think it's just human nature. It's irritating to see what we paid versus what they paid. So we're pretty transparent with what we do. I just sort of think it's easier to see. Always, you just want to see what you're paying. You don't want to see that there was another price. It's irritating. So the great thing with Estimac is that it makes it impossible. And sometimes when you do want to show both, you can't. It makes it absolutely impossible to ever send the client anything other than the price they're paying. So that in itself is terrific. It starts out, first of all, we use it to create our estimates. So we feed in all the information of the bed costs £100. It's going to take 10 metres of this fabric at £25 a metre to upholster it. It's going to take this amount of shipping to ship it. It's going to need these pillows. It needs this, you just put in all the information that is required for the various pieces of furniture and upholstery and wall coverings and all the rest. At that point in our estimating, we don't have all of the information. And you can see that from the thing I've shown you on Oxford Gardens versus this complete document here. We haven't bought everything at that point. So we put in everything that we think the room is going to need. The bedside tables, we may not have found them, but we'll allocate a cost. The rugs, the lamps, the lampshades. You begin to get an idea of what these things cost. So we give provisional sums. We'll also put in every room a sum for accessories that we want to spend at the end. So when we go to the client with what we think the project is going to cost, and we do this after we've made our presentation and they've chosen of the fabrics and the direction we know we want to go in, we hope and aim for that price to never go up again. And sometimes it does, because a client might say, actually, I want to specialist paint all these walls, and I do want to panel, and I do want to do some things that are particularly expensive and we hadn't allowed for. And then you go back and say, okay, this is going to cost this much more, and get it approved. But nobody likes the price to go up. So that's really what we aim for. And I think one of the things we're also always trying to manage is the client expectation. You want to always be telling them ahead what's going to happen, not tell them after the event. If you know that by choosing this rug over that rug, it's going to take 6 months longer and it might not arrive when they come to install. If you tell them that before they've made the choice, they're generally speaking not going to be annoyed when they arrive in their new house and the rug's not there, because they knew and they knew that was going to happen. What is always annoying is to not be told and arrive somewhere to a nasty surprise. And that just generally irritates people. So it can't always be avoided, but for the most part, you can preempt those things by keeping somebody involved in the conversation and able to make the choices themselves about what they want. So Estimac for yourself or as a professional, I highly recommend it, because once you've done your estimate and that's been approved, you can then start ordering. So you order from that great Estimac sheet and the estimate that you've prepared. And then as the correct prices go in, you add those in. You send your order out. Your supplier will then send you an invoice. You pay that invoice. That also is listed on your Estimac form. You bill your client. It shows you when those things have been paid, what's been paid, what hasn't been paid. It's a really useful professional tool. And if I was decorating a house on my own, I really think it would be worth getting a license for the time that I was doing the project, and just, it doesn't take very long to work out how to use it or to go and learn how to use it. And I think it really helps because it helps you to keep the whole thing on the straight and narrow. And I think one of the things that really confuses people or is unnerving is the budget. And once you've allocated your budget and you're going shopping with a budget, it's really fun. And you know that you have the money to buy certain things and you know what you don't. And if you find something that you really want that's more expensive than you've allowed for, you can think, well, do I really want that marble slab in that guest bathroom? Maybe I'll just have white tile and then I can put the money here instead of there, or whatever it is. There's always, you can move things around, but you're in control. And that's really important.